all in, man. I love soccer. I love playing. I love competing. I've got three young kids now, so I'm always trying to psychologically like evaluate them and see like, okay, is he going to be good? Does he have it? And I think that's a very fixed mindset. Like you either have it or you don't. I don't think that is true. I think we need to have a growth mindset in whatever we do, and that's if we put the practice in and we prepare and have a plan, like we can get better, right? And so yeah, I mean, I love playing, I love competing, and so it really dominated my life. I mean, my parents drove us all over the state, the region, the country to play sports, and it's what I loved. It's when I really felt like I came alive. I mean, soccer's given me so much. Talk about rise to the challenge. Like, so I love soccer. When I got into middle school, high school-ish, middle school is probably when it started. I'm a middle child, and so like I try to dissect that too. But I'm always getting into things. I wanted to grow up too fast, and so I really got into drugs and alcohol at an early age. And man, by the grace of God, like just I could have derailed my whole life. I mean, I honestly tell people that like if my parents didn't intervene, I would be dead now or be in prison for a long time. I mean, I was just an idiot. And every time I tell my story, I shake my head because it's like, what, like I really wanted to be known for the kid that did the most drugs and drank the most alcohol. Like it's the stupidest thing in the world, right? Like, but that's how I lived my life. I thought that was cool. I wanted to fit in. I don't really know, but like you tell me, but so my parents, I wasn't living at home. They tricked me to come home, and I got picked up in the middle of the night by two strangers, and they handcuffed me and drove me 12 hours up to the middle of the Catskill Mountains in New York. And so I spent a year and a half there. I was 16 years old, 16 and a half until 18. And so, man, I didn't hate every day, but I hated most days I was there. But the older I get, I'm so thankful, man. It's one of the greatest things that ever happened to me. And so I'm 36 now and hopefully have a little bit of maturity. I'm definitely a man that's young at heart. And so, but man, I really appreciate and am grateful that my family and my parents had the resources and gave me that blessing. Like that kidnapping became a blessing because I know that there's a lot of people, man, that don't have those resources. And so when their kids get out of control, what do? Right? They can't really do much. And so, I know that I went through that time for a reason, and it wasn't just for myself, it was to help other people out. But I'm a slow learner, Alex, really slow. And so when I got out of that school after a year and a half, I got back into drugs and alcohol. And so my whole story is somewhat of an underdog story. Like, the Olympic development team, ODP, is like your state teams, and ODP is like what you get into as a youth if you excel. And so I remember as a kid, like I tried out and I never made it. But my parents told me I made the conscious decision to continue to try out each and every year. It's kind of one of those things, like people would come up after games to my dad and be like, how is your son not on the state team? And so I don't know, whatever reason, I just didn't make it. But I look back on this challenging times for sure in my life as blessings, because I believe that God uses them for our good and his glory. And ultimately I see how they played out and were fruitful in my career and life afterward. And so, as you can imagine, no one was recruiting at the school that I went to up in New York. I just call it dumbass school. If that's a bad word for kids listening, I apologize. But like, I was just an idiot. So we call it idiot school. So I wasn't being recruited, right? So I came home. I repeated my senior year. I grew up 5 minutes from Wake Forest University, which, if you know anything about college soccer, they're perennial top 5 powerhouse and have been for the last 15 years, 20 years. And so I was a walk-on. They recruited me as a walk-on. And so they told me, fast forward 4 years, when I got drafted 5th overall, they told me they thought I would never play a day at Wake Forest. And so, yeah, it's cool, man. I ended up playing as a freshman some, as a sophomore some, and then my junior year is really when I just kind of excelled and took off and came into my own sort of thing. So definitely an underdog guy, believe in chasing your dreams and going after them.